Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well on this Friday. We made it to the end of the week once again, and we've got some receivers to look at. And today we've got a lot to go through. We're going to be looking at all the day two receivers. And this is the area where I think more Seahawks fans are going to be interested. There was definitely, and reasonably so, a lot of resistance to the idea of spending a first round pick on a receiver this year. But once we get into like the second and third round, I think the interest is going to start to open up a little bit. So we got some guys to look at here. We're going to do 3 in this video, and we're going to have some more videos later today. So let's start with Jalin Hyatt of Tennessee, probably the most highly thought of non-first round receiver, somebody who could sneak into the first round. Tennessee Volunteer, 21 years old, kind of small, but also a little bit tall as well, 6 feet tall, 32.5-inch arms, 9-inch hands. Had a nice combine, man, real nice combine, 4.4 speed, 1.5 yard split, 40-inch vert, 11-foot 3-inch broad. Those are some really impressive jumps. So we're dealing with a very fast and explosive player here in Jalin Hyatt. All the big boards except for PFF have him in like the early part of the second. PFF has him in the third, and the aggregate has him in the very early second. I expect him to go early second right now. He only really has one big year of production in college. It was last year, mostly with Hendon Hooker. Had almost 1,300 receiving yards in 12 games. A lot of big plays, a lot of touchdowns. So, really productive year, but it was the only big year that he's had so far. So, I mean, what I can say about Jalin Hyatt is that he's one of the best athletes at receiver in this draft. That combine performance speaks volumes. He's got great straight line speed. He's got quick acceleration. He's going to blow past defensive backs. He's going to find ways to get open constantly because of those two traits. He's a pretty good route runner, too. He knows how to utilize his deep speed to get open over the middle. And what I say by that is he's dangerous on those go routes, just streaking down the field using his speed. So defensive backs are eventually going to respect that, and then he can break off those deep routes to, in-breaking routes running over the middle, comebackers, curls, and he's going to get open because the opposing secondary is so afraid of what he can do deep. So he's the full package here. He can do all kinds of different stuff for you as a receiver. He's a good improviser when the play breaks down. We have familiarity with that. When the play breaks down in the old days with Wilson, which happened all the time, you had Doug Baldwin finding weird ways to get open after the play broke down. Hyatt can do some of that too. He's going to make a play on pretty much every ball you throw his way. He's got good hands. He's got good ball skills. He makes plays on contested catches. And once he gets the ball in his hands, he's going to make some plays for extra yards. He's going to make players miss. He's going to use his lateral agility well. So, a lot to like about Jalin Hyatt. The drawbacks with Jalin Hyatt, as I see it, are I don't think he's going to be a very good blocker. He benefited tremendously from Tennessee's offensive system, which is not a pro-style system at all. He mostly worked out of the slot. He mostly got free releases. There were a lot of situations where he got schemed open. And generally speaking, he's going to have to prove that he can do the same things he did in college at the NFL level. That's going to be hard. He does need to expand his route tree a little bit, I think. He runs good routes, but he needs to run more routes. And he's got the one good year. So there are some concerns here, but I really like this. I think he's an interesting fit for this offense. I think he can develop into a great receiver over time. I'm not saying he's my favorite pick at 37, but he's one of the picks I would be fairly good with at 37. I would make it the pick at 37, and if we don't pick him at 37, and somehow he's there at, the 50s, I'm super excited about that. So, really like Jalin Hyatt after having a good chance to look at him. Okay, next up we have Josh Downs, a Tar Heel, North Carolina, 22 years old. A little bit on the smaller side, 5'9", 171 pounds, kind of short arms, barely over 30 inches, 9.25-inch hands. Combine, I mean, the straight line speed was okay, 4.48, but the 10-yard split was really good, sub 1.5. Pretty good vert, 38.5, good broad, 10-foot, 11-inch jump there. And pretty much all the big boards have him in the second round, except for PFF. They have him at the back end of the first. I think he's going to be an early to mid second round guy. That seems to be the consensus right now. Been very productive these last 2 years. In 24 games, he's got almost 200 catches and almost 2,400 yards and 19 touchdowns. across two different quarterbacks as well, right? Because there was this year Drake May, but the year before that it was Sam Howell. So he's proven himself. What I can say about Josh Downs as a player, he's got tremendous acceleration. I think that's the thing that stands out about him more than anything. It's not like he's super fast, but he gets up at that top speed very quickly. And he's got great agility. He's going to use that speed and acceleration on his route running as much as anything else. It's going to be very hard to cover him because he really knows how to use like deceptive steps to mix up his route running. He is really good at contested catches. He actually makes a lot of difficult catches, even though he's a 5'9" guy. He's got a great understanding of route running, like I said. He can catch quick, short passes and make yards after the catch. He's another one of these yard after the catch guys. And, like I said, he produced big time across two different college quarterbacks. So, the issues with Josh Downs. He is still small, and while I don't think that stops him from doing some impressive things, when he gets jammed at the line, when he's in a press man situation, he can get pushed around a little bit. He can get bullied, and he'll get pushed off his route. His route will be delayed, and he'll be kind of taken out of the play a little bit by a good jam. Probably won't be a good blocker as well, largely for the same reason. He just doesn't have enough girth to get anything done there. At North Carolina, he was the beneficiary of a lot of situations where he was schemed open, and he worked mostly from the slot. In the pros, I mean, you can put him in the slot a lot if you want to, of course, and a slot receiver is what we need, so I don't think that's a, capital offense. But he's not necessarily proven himself to be able to consistently work for everything he does. I do think the skills are there for that, but at North Carolina, he did get schemed open a lot. He was somebody who benefited a lot from really good offensive systems. Also, I would say his hands are not so great. I think that he doesn't make... Again, it's one of these Odell Beckham things, man, where these guys, they have great hands on hard catches. Like, this guy makes these contested catches all the time. I saw it on the tape. And the easy stuff sometimes just gets away from him, it seems like. So, he's fun. I think that he could fit the bill for what the Seahawks need right now. But I think he becomes worth it in the mid-second. If he's there at 51, I'm not saying he's my favorite pick at 51, but I wouldn't mind taking him at 51. That's not bad. That's okay. I'd like to do better, but I wouldn't be upset with it either around that range of the draft. So, Josh Downs, like him, don't love him. Would have liked to have seen him prove himself in a few more scenarios in college. So, one more guy, and then we'll wrap up this video. This guy has been recommended to me by a few people, and I ended up kind of liking what I saw. Rasheed Rice of the SMU Stangs, the Mustangs. 23 years old, a little bit on the older side. Also on the bigger side, 6'1", 204 pounds, almost 33-inch arms, so he's got nice long arms, 9.5-inch hands, 4.51 40, not super fast or anything, but really good 10-yard split, 1.49, 41-inch vert, solid. 10-foot, 8-inch broad is decent, and the big boards pretty much all have him in the third, except for SI. Sports Illustrated has him in the second. I don't know. I get the sense the consensus is he's going to go in the third. Wouldn't shock me if he went in the bottom of the second, but if he's there in the third, man, I'm kind of liking the value here. And you can see that last year he had a monster season, almost 100 catches and almost 1,400 yards. So here's what I can say about Rasheed Rice. Most of what I have to say about Rasheed Rice is honestly pretty positive. Unlike the last two guys, he's got the size to hold up in physical situations. Like, if you want him to block, he can do that. He's big enough to handle that. If you want him to beat a press at the line of scrimmage, he can do that. This is not somebody who's going to be completely overwhelmed in situations where he needs to use physicality and strength. He proved successful at SMU from the slot and as an outside receiver. So, if you're thinking about him in the context of the Seahawks, you have a guy who can be in the slot at first, which is where we need him with Metcalf and Lockett being on the outside. And as time goes by, and either Lockett retires or moves to the slot in his older age to make life easier for him, maybe Rasheed Rice moves to the outside. So that makes his use case, I think, far more interesting. The fact that he can play inside and outside. He's got good agility, good lateral agility, can make players miss. Some of those combine scores indicate how good an athlete he is, and he proves it in the open field. Great acceleration. He's got great ball skills. He's going to make a play on every ball that gets thrown in his area. He manages to find a way to use leverage at the point of the catch. And he'll make a play on the ball. He's going to give himself opportunities to make every catch. And he's a good route runner. The main things with Rasheed Rice that I notice in the more negative, not a lot. He needs to learn more routes. He's a good route runner, but he didn't run that many different routes at SMU. He's going to have to add to his route tree, but that's something that he'll most likely be able to do, I think. The main hang-up with Rasheed Rice is that even though he has great ball skills, even though he has a good catch radius, even though I think that there's some reason to believe he'll get better at this, he does drop a few more passes than you would like. So those are the main problems with Rasheed Rice, but overall, I was really impressed with this guy. And my evaluation was that, honestly, I think that he's one of my favorite targets with our third-round pick. I wouldn't even mind taking him in the second. Like, overall, I like this guy just as much as Jalin Hyatt overall in a different way. And I liked him more than a lot of the receivers that were projected to go in this area. So I would be okay taking him in the second, honestly. But it sounds like he's going to be available in the third. And sign me up for that. Absolutely sign me up for Rasheed Rice in the third round if that is the opportunity presented to us. All right, so those are 3 receivers that are likely to go on day 2 of the draft. Like those guys a fairly healthy amount, I would say. 3 more coming later today, around noon. See you guys later. Go Hawks.